This is Madam Speaker, and we ask on this program to South Africans, what does human rights mean? We're about to wrap things up here, Ricky, and maybe the one thing we haven't created is a space to talk about the fact that, you know, rights are rights and are rights, and they aren't experienced the same by all sectors of our society. We're talking about the trans, the queer sectors of our community, if you want to, if you want to call it that. How much more of a layer of a problem exists in communities like those who are trying to experience their full citizenship in our country?
So if you want to talk about equality, equality is about otherness. So when you have a community like the LGBTQI plus community, they are more other than other. And they face extreme violence in society. They face extreme violence in South Africa. They face exclusion. So the basic things that we take for granted, the infrastructure we've got, the health centers, they enter a health center and they ask exactly who are you? Before we treat you, and why should we treat you? They enter a police station and their very identity is questioned. So their difference and their otherness means they are fully excluded from society. And as I said, if we don't do the preventative work of changing and shifting people's understanding of how they have to function in a democracy that is a human rights democracy, we're never going to open up the spaces for people who were working on that same formula of if you're different, if you're other, you are less. And it closes the doors.
How do we define that within a hierarchy inside the quest for rights, John?
Look, I wanted to add on the LGBTIQ because the earlier discussion we were having on participation. From the department side, from government side, we've set up a national task team on LGBTI rights. And that's people from government departments and civil society organizations. So it's an opportunity for people to engage, I think it's quarterly, on issues affecting the LGBTI community.
I've been in some of those meetings, and I guess it goes back to the first question again, is that you can have these engagements and there can be an awareness, but how is there that kind of, not perforation, how does it reach into our communities?
Well, we're talking specifically about the LGBTIQ community, so the expectation would be organizations attending that task team, and it's fairly open. There's also provincial ones that some are working, some could be doing better. But I think civil society organizations attending are expected to then be raising the issues from their community.
So, Imani, can I go in here? And this is what I'm talking about of we can establish an infrastructure, but the infrastructure doesn't work. Because there is this task team and because they are provincial task teams, what we're finding when we work in communities is that public officials don't feel it's their work to deal with LGBTQI cases. When there is a case, so last year there was a case of Nonki Smoos who was killed in Kroonstad in the Free State, and that the public officials in that community said, no, there's nothing we can do, there's a task team. And when that task team comes, we will start to do the work. We don't know how to deal with these queer people. So that's why I say that the change that is required is throughout the system that is our society. Right. It's not to just say now we've got a structure where we can talk. We have to change how people understand themselves.
Okay, so what I'm hearing consistently is there is an architecture and there is an experience and there's a space in between. How do we breach the space?
I want to throw this back as a responsibility for the government. People will only feel that the rights that they fought for have borne fruit if they are allowed in and are able to participate, but also if the government starts to respect those rights. It's not just about promotion, it's about provision of those rights to its citizens. What we have not seen here is the fact that when we talk about all these groups, people are feeling marginalized. Why are they not feeling that they're a part of the state? Why are they not feeling that they're benefiting from the fruits of their labor, from the fruits of the fight against apartheid? And I think it's because the government has paid lip service to the provision of these important rights to its citizens. They do not feel that those rights have been fought. The right to education, the right to health, the right to work, the right to be free from discrimination.
You know, it's a difficult time for rights in general, not just only in South Africa, but internationally, globally. It is a difficult time, and I think that it calls on us to sort of take a long-term view. And I think maybe this is an appropriate day, and I think it's important that we consider things like, is the naming of this day, Human Rights Day, constituting an erasure of this ultimate sacrifice that has been made by people in the past? But I think that we need to take this long-term view and be like, at that time in 1960, I don't think anyone could have imagined that at some point in the future we were going to have same-sex marriage, marriage equality, that we would have gotten rid of the death penalty in South Africa, certain advancements that we've made that probably wouldn't have seemed possible maybe 25 years ago or more. So I think that taking a long-term view gives us the ray of sunshine that we're looking for. But ultimately, I think it's so important because that gap that you're talking about, you know, we really need to change strategically the approach that we're taking to implementing rights, so to make sure that we are monitoring implementation.
Thank you to all my guests this evening. That famous but important saying in South Africa, umuntu ngumuntu ngabantu, we are who we are because of other people, couldn't be more important than right now. Can we look at and into each other and be at peace knowing that my access and experience of human rights is unequal to another's? We should not be comfortable. We should be very, very uncomfortable, because a huge price was paid to make sure that there is no separate country, no separate experience under democratic skies for the haves and the haves not. Thank you for watching.